Great defeaters, new and old. Welcome back to another, and this one is a bit extra special episode of the breakdown with your hosts, Base the Kid, Tony, Pugilist Boy. We are the children of the game. Tony, how has your weekend been? How have you been? And are you ready to get down today?
Yeah, buddy, I'm good. I'm good. I've had a great weekend. Needless to say, football, which is my other passion, has been very successful for me of late, because you know which half of London I cheer for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that always sets the tone. Being around friends and family this weekend, also for some celebrations, was nice. So yeah, we got to sit down and watch the big event this Saturday evening amongst the company of some really good people, and that just sets it off really lovely. So without further ado,
Let's see who's in the chat real quick.
excellent. So good evening. As normal, we see Mulla Mulla is in there straight off the bat. Welcome Nawinder Singh. Welcome October Red. Welcome Uncle Jonah. Welcome Jay Lands. Good evening to Mr. A. Good evening to Fight Fan TV Live, Danny. Dan the Man, SE15. Welcome to D-Clan. Welcome James Douglas. Welcome Maestro. Big up my guy.
Salutations.
For Awusi, welcome. So yeah, the pod is podding today, bro. We got the big guns. We got a new one in. Greetings to Mega Diego 107. That's a name I'm not seeing before. Welcome to you, brother. Stay blessed. Be real. Welcome.
Okay.
So,
David Prosper. Salutations to you, David. Reese Jones. All right. Okay. So, there's only one place to start. And on this occasion, I'm going to let you lead off and I'm going to follow your action. So go for it.
Okay. That's very kind of you. That's very kind of you.
You're welcome. What I do.
Without further ado, let's get into the action. So, obviously, AJ against Usyk was the fight that we were all looking forward to this weekend. Took place in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. I think from my perspective, I was looking to see what improvements were going to take place and what was AJ going to put into place to make this fight different and solidify his ability to win against a guy who is considered one of the best pound for pound in the world right now in the game of boxing. From the get-go, I didn't see a great deal. It actually started off rather cagey for me. I felt that there was a lot of posturing. I felt that AJ didn't get off like a man on fire like I expected him to. I expected there to be lots of high-paced action in the early rounds with AJ taking it to Usyk and putting him under severe pressure physically by throwing punches in bunches, using good footwork. We talked about this last week where, using your feet is very important in a game of boxing. But we didn't see that initial onslaught that I was expecting. Instead, he employed the I'm going to box with a superior boxer tactic. But having said that, he did have success in doing that. He was able to pick some significant good shots in early rounds. And although the early rounds were, one went Usyk, one went to AJ, one went Usyk, one went AJ, it tended to swap between the two guys. AJ was showing himself to be a better boxer than I expected him to do, bearing in mind that he was in against a chess master in Usyk. However, I believe that on too many occasions in those earlier rounds, he didn't take the opportunity to let his hands go. I feel that he found himself quite often in a position where he could do something like throw a left hook to the body, or he'd find a brilliant right cross, but he wouldn't follow it up with a left hook. There are combinations where if one punch hits, another punch should follow. You know, it wasn't until late into the fight, especially in round 9, where we saw combinations, you know, him stepping in, using 4-5 punch combinations. You know, we just saw a right hook, then a left hook. That came too fleetingly to me. You know, there were opportunities where you'd see him get his feet into a position, but then not utilize his natural body size to put pressure on Usyk. And I think you alluded to it last time in our breakdown, that what AJ needed to do was almost gamble with a style whereby if you throw 1, I'm throwing 2. If you throw 2, I'm throwing 4. And it was that which I felt wasn't implored enough in the fight for him to win. However, having said that, he certainly was in the fight, you know, past the halfway stage. There wasn't much in it. It could easily have been an AJ win by decision had he had the engine and the ability to continue shooting punches in the later rounds. I mean, clearly Usyk wins round 10, 11, and 12. You know, if AJ's able to swing those rounds, it's his fight.
Okay. Finish?
Yeah, I want to leave it there for now.
Okay. So, first things first. Yes, I agree. AJ done much better in this fight, or at least it appeared he did much better. Because so I actually scored it, and I've actually given my score down incorrectly on my video and somewhere else. I actually said that I had first round AJ, second round Usyk, third round AJ, fourth round Usyk, then fifth round, sixth round to AJ, 7th round, 8th round to Usyk, then it was 9 round to AJ, then 10, 11, 12 all Usyk. So that was actually slightly wrong, because it was actually first round to Usyk, second and third round to AJ, then fourth round to Usyk. So I just wanted to tidy that up initially. However, I just rewatched the fight about half an hour ago, actually, and I'm gonna need to rescore it. I need to watch it one more time to make sure the score I'm gonna give is correct. But I actually now can't give AJ the 5 rounds I gave him before. There's actually less rounds to me that he won. Now that being said, I'll sort of go into that another time. What I did expect him to sort of come out a bit more like he did, as opposed to going for it. I predicted, look, going for it is the only way he's really going to be able to put the pressure on. But I listened to several interviews and stuff from Robert Garcia, and even things that AJ said, and it all just kind of led up to, it's almost like I'm gonna try and inch forward, and I'm gonna try and just take my opportunities when they come, and then sort of press the gas when I feel like I've got an opportunity to. Now, Usyk was very skilled, as always, as not allowing you to do that. He constantly moved. He usually stayed to AJ's left-hand side, his right-hand side, keeping his foot on the outside, doing almost like a little double hop to the side of AJ so that he can't set his feet to be able to throw either a jab or hook or a right cross. Constantly stayed on the peripheral of AJ's vision so that he couldn't actually get himself lined up. But AJ did slightly better attacking the body in this fight, because in the previous fight he went head hunting a lot. Usyk's head is always on the pendulum, as we've said before. He's got brilliant head movement. He's never usually on the line. He's good at riding shots. He's got a very good defense. But AJ decided to when Usyk was trying to exit the pocket on the right hand side, AJ would throw a little short left into either his side or into maybe his elbow or the bottom of his arm, just to let him know, if you go out that way too many times, I'm going to catch you. Caught him a couple, with some pretty decent body shots throughout the fight. But every time he caught Usyk with something that Usyk either didn't like or was uncomfortable with, he would do something to nullify AJ's attack, whether it would be to crouch down low underneath AJ's waistband, forcing him to stop having to throw because the referee wouldn't allow him to, or being able to actually hold, grab, and move him around, or push himself off to the right hand side to be able to prevent Usyk from to prevent AJ from being able to let off any further shots. This pretty much continued from the first up until sort of like the 8th round. Usyk still won the round fairly comfortably, but you saw there was a couple signs he was visibly troubled in that. We all saw what happened in the 9th round, and I saw somewhere, I can't remember who it was that said it, but I think it was on Monday Night Smoke last night. So shout out to you if it was you that said it. That if AJ had of let jumped off the gas a bit in the 9th round in those last 45 seconds after he had done that original salvo to Usyk, he would have been able to conserve enough gas and energy to be able to start the 10th round with the same kind of venom as he did in the 9th, which would have then potentially either turned that in his favor or allowed him to land something again, maybe a bit cleaner. But ultimately, it's Usyk's IQ. Like I said, he stayed away from AJ's power hand pretty much all night. He kept him turning, wouldn't allow him to set. He kept feinting him with the right hand, jabbing over the top of his jab or parrying his arm down, sometimes shaking it out to the side to make him to veer his attention away, hitting that backhand, the sweet backhand, and dipping and rolling underneath, coming with the right hook afterwards. Sometimes just very little pitter-pattery. He's very good at when he's moving when he doesn't even have his feet set, just flicking the arm out and punching on the turn. So before his feet are even set, before he's even got his toes down on the ground, he's able to get that shot off. Just as whether it's a nothing shot or it's got a little bit of a sting in it. Not too many people are good at hitting them or moving as they're hitting, but he's very skilled at that as well. The dexterity, like I said, the posture, everything about Usyk was just too much for AJ. As I said, I initially had it 115, 113 to Usyk. I'm gonna have to rescore the fight. I'll probably put it on my video. It's gonna actually be fairly wider than that now, because when I watched it the second time, there was only 2 rounds that I could clearly give to AJ. There's a couple others where I'm saying maybe, but yeah, so it's gonna be a wider scorecard, and it just shows how much of a technician Usyk actually is. And even the times where we thought he was getting tagged and hurt, he was again riding some stuff. He was dipping low. He was actually blocking quite a bit. He's very defensively capable. His defense isn't very leaky at all. He's very strong in terms of his endurance. He can take a punch. He can ride a shot. He can weather a storm, and he's very good at making these big guys have to exert energy, and then he works when they want to rest. And that's one of the things that I think it was. Who was it that said that you have to? It was George Foreman, I believe it was, where he said once your opponent's unleashed his energy, that's when you go in for your kill, because he's not going to have anything to defend with. So ultimately, that's what Usyk pretty much did all day. Rounds 10, 11, 12, sweeped it. In a fun fact, a fun stat, he's never ever lost a championship round in his entire career, and that's why he's ended up being and remaining undefeated. It just is what it is. So big ups to both men, but Usyk just too skilled, too superior, and AJ's got to go back to the fundamentals and keep learning.
Yeah, I mean, you got that bang on right. That description of Usyk and his capabilities, because I didn't really focus on that bit. I was really focusing on what AJ did and what he didn't do. But the other side to that coin is the capabilities of Usyk. And listen, I'm interested in what people think. If they think as me, I think that was the best fight I've ever seen Usyk fight. I mean, technically, it was brilliant. And, he was up against somebody who was willing to push him hard, who was delivering some good punches in spots in the fight. But technically, Usyk was in such good control. And his ability to show opportunities and to counter when you try to take that opportunity is phenomenal. And when I say that, it's like he'll drop his hands at certain points, and you look and think, well, hit him now, hit him now. And as soon as you flinch to do something, he switches up on you and he delivers something different. You know, he throws punches from places, yeah, that most heavyweights can't. You know, I mean, a traditional jab comes from the shoulder, comes straight out, comes back. You know, it's very few fighters who throw hands from low down. I mean, typically, I remember Tommy Hearns had a fantastic jab from waist level. He could absolutely rip you with a waist level jab, a shot which very few fighters are capable of delivering. But Usyk, you know, he does throw punches at angles and places from places where it's very unusual. And there's very few guys currently in the sport of boxing who I think can offer that kind of dexterity in terms of punch capability. You know, I look at someone as fundamentally good as Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol. Those two guys at light heavyweight, I really thought about those two guys. Those guys are so fundamentally good, you know, offensively and defensively. But yet still, I think Usyk trumps them in his ability to read fights much better and also to effect fights with, you know, with the types of punches and the places from which he throws his punches. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, agreed. And one thing I know that a lot of people are saying, oh, like AJ was hesitant. He had times when he could have let a shot off, but he didn't. He didn't. But again, as you said, number one, sometimes when AJ, obviously being a bigger guy, he doesn't, and not necessarily being like the most fluid, he almost has telltale signs of when he's about to throw a shot. So you can kind of see it, and you put yourself in a position to be defensive away from it, whether that's to angle yourself away from the shot, slip it, move to a way that you make him reset, but also a bit like Floyd Mayweather and some of the other elite fighters throughout history and even in modern times. There's been a lot of fighters who are trigger happy, who will let their hands go, who get very hesitant and gun shy against those people because they're getting countered all night, or they're just being put into positions where they can't throw the shots at the or the ferocity or the trajectory that they want. So they have to then try and reset to try and see if they can find it again. Floyd did it with Manny. He did it with Marquez. Like these are just like it when you are naturally that talented, you can negate a lot of your opponent's attributes just by making them have to think more about where those shots are coming from. So yeah, that's like I said, with Usyk is just his mind and his like mental alertness is something that is going to cause any and all other opponents he ever faces problems. Whether even if he loses, it's just because they're never, no one's ever going to have an easy night's work because he seems to be just the most mentally switched on. Like you see in loads of fights with Tyson Fury, for instance, where he almost takes breaks mentally throughout the fight because either he finds it's too easy or that's what he needs to do to reset to get himself back into the mode. Normally that's when he ends up getting hit. Usyk, I've never seen Usyk take a mental break in a fight yet that I've seen. I'm not saying it's never happened, but I've never seen it. So just being in front of someone like that is gonna tax you out, no matter who you are. So again, to beat him, you're gonna have to essentially go through hell, whether that's physical hell or mental hell. Like you're going through something, and if you come out the other side victorious, then you are truly a great.
Yeah. So I want to address this point here. Olu, hope you're well, fella. By Teacher, my good friend. He says AJ was hesitant to throw hands with intent. He's still gun shy after his Ruiz defeat, and I have to disagree with that because I think there's plenty of opportunity, plenty of times where I see AJ setting for big shots, and it's just what Usyk shows him that stops him from throwing the shot. Because what you can do, I mean, yes, I would love to have seen AJ be a little bit more physical, you know, stepping into Usyk harder and throwing hands with more regularity. But you know, there's also a case where you have to look at what the opposition offers you. You know, I remember early in the fight, I mentioned it yesterday, AJ's throwing uppercuts and he's miles away. He's absolutely miles away. And if you think like an uppercut is one of the most destructive punches you can possibly throw, that and a hook, you know, uppercuts and hooks are, you know, very much two of the most destructive punches for some of the hardest hitters. You know, there are guys who, you know, like Tyson, that hook to the body uppercut combination killed so many fighters. But with AJ, I don't believe he was gunshot. I actually honestly believe he just didn't have the opportunities to throw hands the way I would like to have, for him to have done. And I think, you know, this boils down to the tutoring that he's had. You know, look, you have to have the muscle memory to know how to throw the hands in a certain way when you're up against somebody as defensively astute as Usyk. So for that reason, I have to disagree with that. Do you want to chime in on that one there, Base?
Not particularly. The only thing I do want to commend, though, I do want to commend AJ on he was prepared to get hit. Because remember, I said last week, is he gonna be prepared to get hit? Is he gonna prepared to be there to take those shots, to give the shots? And in those first few rounds, you saw it in his face. Like he was like, you know, okay, if I need to get hit, I get hit. And every time he actually got hit, he barely reacted to it. He kept moving forward. And I thought that was something he was like putting that sort of applying that pressure, making, and Usyk was obviously Usyk always moves, but he was moving. It's like he was moving a little bit more than he usually does. And I thought AJ was okay, slowly kind of stalking him, getting a little body shot here, body shot there, sort of, you know, racking it up and banking it for the later rounds. So I have to commend him for that. The mindset that he got himself into, while it wasn't perfect because ultimately it did implode, it was a much more improved mindset. And if he can almost, I don't want to say replicate it to the intensity he did, but just focus on the mental side of his game, understanding, look, I'm not going to be here forever. So while I am here, I might as well, you know, I might as well give these guys hell. No one can't chat shit to me again. As long as if he gets himself into that sort of mode, like, I'm coming forward. Obviously, I'm not here to just take shots, but I'm coming forward. I'm working everything off the jab, but understand that I'm coming with mean intentions. Then I think he'll be very, very successful moving forward.
Yeah. I want to address this point by Bafora Wusi. It says Anthony Joshua needs to learn how to fight dirty, and AJ needs to do the dirty tactics of boxing. He's just saying. Now, I agree with you, Bafor, in some respect, but I also would throw this caveat at you, is that when it comes to the dirty arts, there's probably not many better than Derek Chisora. And we all know what Usyk did with Chisora. Yeah. So it's easy to say yes. And if you listen to our pod last week where we were breaking down what Joshua needed to do, a lot of the things that we talked about, I believe he tried. And there was improvement in some of the areas we talked about he needed to. But quite simply, this guy is impregnable. Usyk, he's the antidote to your dirty towel. He's the antidote to your box on the back foot. He's the antidote to your box on the front foot. He's the antidote to pretty much any style you're going to bring. Yeah? And you know, look, I will hark back to the time when the whole British nation was on that Ricky Hatton saying, oh, yeah, go forward, Ricky. Floyd can't fight on his back foot. Floyd, you know, you start getting the body punches in, you're going to be able to destroy him or dismantle him. And guess what? That same voice came back again on Saturday night. If he does this, he's going to do that. If he does this, he's going to do that. You still have to box a guy who is defensively massively superior to you. So that's how I would address that point. You want to come in on that one?
No, you did that fairly well. Let's go.
Cool. Let me just try and bottom out some of the comments with regard to the fight. I noticed there's a lot of talk in the chat about Mr. Fury. I'm not going there. unless you want to go there, I'm not.
No,
I
no, no.
don't really want to.
That's for another. That's for another
That's for
evening.
another. Yeah.
I'll just
So
say
we're
to boxing pound for pound, Jack. Whatever he said about obviously AJ getting beat or whatever. If you think that AJ getting beat was the catalyst for me saying what I said about Fury yesterday, like not particularly, apart from maybe the mental health stuff, but I'm not AJ's biggest fan, so he doesn't bother me in that sense. I just dislike the way he goes on and the flip-flop nature of him and the fact he gets a lot of leeway, and he like, no, people don't keep the same energy. I'm very much a keep the same energy type person. If I don't like something or something that someone does, friend or foe, I say it the exact same way. There's people in the chat that can attest to that. You can ask Danny. Like, I've had issues with other people that I'm really close with, because I'll keep the same energy. If I don't think something was right, I'll say it to you in front of people or in private. So that's just my issue with Tyson Fury. And ultimately, as I said, I am Team Usyk when that fight happens, regardless if it happens.
cool.
I did see a comment I wanted to quickly touch on. Where is it? I'll check to make sure I just
I'll quickly just address this one quickly.
yeah,
Olu says he should have gone for broken round 12. I don't think he had the energy, bro. I think
he was
that
shattered.
he pretty much was spent by that point, and it was a case of do your best, but I haven't got the energy to be able to go for like broke, like what you say.
Yeah. I know the comment wasn't anything major, to be honest. It was just it was talking, where is it? Actually, no, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Again, Joshua needs to find that dog. I think the dog was there. I think, it was a combination of, boxing is all about controlled aggression. And Anthony Joshua showed controlled aggression, but it just came up short. What can you say?
So I found the comment. It's Robert Brony, new guy. I've never seen your name before, so welcome to the channel, and please come back. He said, "Do you think AJ held the shots better this time because he trained better, or did Usyk not load up as much second time around?" To that, I say he trained better, but he accepted. I think when he put himself into whatever mental space he did, he accepted that I'm gonna get hit. Whereas before, because he was on this sweet science thing. Whenever he gets hit, he's like, how dare you hit me? Or like, wait, I shouldn't be getting hit. This is all wrong. And it's like the brain and the computer malfunctions. Whereas this time he's like, I know this guy's gonna hit me, but I'm gonna take what he's got and I'm gonna give it back to him twice as hard. So that's what I think that it was this time, because Usyk definitely loaded up on on some shots that AJ took much better than the shots he took in the first fight, which I don't think were as heavy. So that's the answer to that, for my opinion.
Good. Welcome, Paul L. Finance. AJ did better and was more aggressive. Agreed. You did well. I would like to see the trilogy. I'm interested in a trilogy fight, but I have a feeling that AJ needs to do something like he would need a tune-up fight in which he would need to hone the skills necessary to beat that guy. I don't know if it was. I think it was in a conversation I had with Danny on Monday or Sunday, possibly. Yes, Sunday, where I mentioned that when AJ was talking in the pre-fight conference about who he was sparring with, he said he sparred with a bunch of guys. And on that same conversation, I had Xavier Miller, Dillian White's trainer, on the call, and Dillian and Xavier confirmed the guys AJ was sparring with are the same guys Dillian was sparring with. And I'm like, well, in this particular situation, I'm calling Dillian White to spar. I'm calling Chisora. I'm calling Joe Joyce. I'm calling all the big guns, because I'm not trying to demean those sparring partners, but I'm saying when you get to the promised land and you need to be sharpened by iron, you need the killers. You need to be sparring with a Joe Joyce. You need to be sparring with Lawrence Okoli. You need to be you know what I mean? Those are the guys I would have called, because you know what? Get over your issues with whoever is whoever. Because in the game of boxing, trust me, everybody's sparring everybody. You know, Tyson Fury spars Joseph Parker. You know, he spars Jared Miller. It's just the game. You know, you
AJ should
have
have brought in Jalilov, to be honest.
There you go.
Big southpaw, like moves very well. That would him, Daichko. He should have spoke to Otto Wallin. Like he should have even spoke to Artur Spilko. Like literally, just all these different southpaws from all different heights and sizes would have just been perfect.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you know, that's water under the bridge now.
Yeah. We'll read a couple more of the comments if they're there. Then we'll move on to the some of the undercard fights real quick, because we don't want to take too long today.
So we did that. October Red says wasn't able to cut corner off the ring. Yeah, again, great movement from Usyk. If either you were able to make the choice, who would you assign as AJ's trainer after this fight? Good question. I felt that Robert Garcia was pretty much voiceless in the corner. I'm not really sure if he was able to instigate a good enough game plan in the short time that he was working with AJ. So I'm not sure if that's a relationship that needs to develop further, or does he need to bring it completely and like say, get rid of Alex Fernandez, get rid of the hangers-oners, get rid of Robert Garcia, and start looking at some real big names. I mean, you know, I know Maestro is a big fan of Ismail Salas. I've seen who have I seen in the chat? Who do you think?
Someone said Ronnie Shields. I disagree.
Ronnie Shields, yeah.
AJ will get himself knocked out if he's got Ronnie Shields as his trainer. I don't even want to go into why, but Shields is washed. He's not a good trainer. Most of the it's weird because everyone talks about Ronnie Shields. The majority, every single person he's trained at any like world to elite level has been knocked out under his tutelage. Like it doesn't work. Names that I would like, to be honest, Jonathan Banks comes to mind, because he's used to working with someone with AJ's dimensions and frame, and he's also comes from that sort of the Kronk schooling under Emmanuel Stewart. Hasim Rahman as a trainer, I think that he would be able to loosen AJ up in terms of his fluidity, and obviously show him a couple of different shots that he doesn't really employ now. He did very well when he was training Michael Hunter. Also, another one which slightly out of left field, but Steve Cunningham. I feel that would be a good trainer for him as well. Those are three good trainers. I mean, the Robert Garcia thing, I don't mind if he sticks with him, but I just want he needs to go. AJ needs to come out of his comfort zone. As I said yesterday, he can't be in Loughborough, in Sheffield, or even over here. Like, go train in America, go train in Russia. Like, okay, maybe not Russia, but you know what I mean. Like, just train somewhere else, away from your comforts, away from where your friends, your business is. Like, go into someone else's environment. Go to the Kronk gyms. No, I saw Antonio Tarver in there as well. Bashir, Ali Bashir. I don't even know if he's still training at the moment. Tarver might be a decent shout as well. Yeah. But yeah, like just go somewhere where you're not the top dog in the gym, or even if you feel like you're the top dog, they're all coming for you. Like no, like I need to prove my stripes. Well, Loughborough, you're A star over there. Sheffield, you're A star training with the amateurs. Like all of that, like leave that alone. Even Mark Ramsey, as Maestro said, yes, that's a brilliant shout as well. But yeah, those would be the people that I would suggest personally.
Cool. Last one there was Tommy Brooks.
I don't know much about Tommy, to be fair.
I don't know much about him either. Right, so let's move on, guys. Lots of great commentary. Thank you all for your comments. I know I haven't been able to address every single comment, but hopefully you've read each other's comments while we're talking. So we'll go on to the next fight on the card, which was of excitement to us, and that would be Philip Hrgovic fighting Zhang or Zhang Zhile, if as it's said in China. Got some things here for you to talk over, and I also have a little live as well. So fire away.
Okay, now this was a very, very good fight. Possibly for the wrong reasons though, because ultimately Hrgovic, I don't know if he underperformed. I don't know if his head was right or whatever, but he looked awful throughout the entire fight. Possibly stemming from getting a little cuffing shot around the back of the head in the first round, which put him down and he took the count on. But he seemed kind of okay after that until the headbutt. When they clashed heads, which was actually his fault because he dipped in when Zhang was pressing forward. So I think he was caught in a little bit of concussion as well. Obviously, we know the issues that have happened with his father. Sort of back in May, I think it was. So obviously, I know that probably didn't put him in the greatest of mind states. But ultimately, Zhang, I feel, proved too much for him, too skilled, too wily. The southpaw stance was giving him awkward fits pretty much all night. Zhang was very smart in the way that he was setting up his shots. He's not obviously the most elusive person, but he's very good at sort of just tucking up behind behind the high guard, at least while he's fresh, not really taking anything flush. But even sometimes he'll shoot sort of almost a lazy uppercut with the front hand and then push a solid left hook like after it, or a left hook straight down the pipe. I mean a left straight down the pipe. He was very good at keeping his foot on the outside of Hrgovic's foot, which is something that Hrgovic should have been adjusting to and realizing that's what he needed to be doing, especially being sort of the lighter guy. I feel like Zhang had he made all. Hrgovic did very well in the rounds that he won in terms of just being busy, active, maybe landing 4, 5, 6 shots in that particular round, maybe in a salvo. But Zhang was, anytime he was landing a 1 or a 2, like they was catching, they was connecting, and there was several times where he punched Hrgovic into disinterest. Where Hrgovic literally walked off. It's almost like he just turned his back, walked off, like, why am I even here? Like, this is long. And it was just a very weird behavior. So I really do think there was some form of concussion or dazedness there. But Zhang ultimately, I feel, was robbed in this fight. He proved that he deserves to be maybe not on the upper echelons, but he deserves to not be thought of as a joke just after the defeat. Not the defeat, sorry, the bad draw that he had with Jerry Forrest, even though that was down to him suffering with some rhabdomyolysis at the time, becoming very dehydrated during the fight, which is why he could barely move after the 3rd round. So like I said on one of my videos, the fact he stayed on his feet for the last 5 rounds of that fight was really telling. Both of them took superb heavy shots from each other. Like, they've both got granite chins. Yes, maybe someone with a better punch combination might be able to put one of them down, but in terms of a blunt one hitter quitter, both of them took that. So I got to rate that. And I did say that I was tweeting it at the time. I said I want to see one of them in with Joe Joyce. I want to see battle of the chins. See who. I think Joe Joyce might win an activity because he's got a better engine, but in terms of punches, I definitely think they both hit harder than he does. And he's never really been cracked by someone that's like a super puncher yet. So that to me would be a really good next step. But it's funny because even though Zhang lost the fight officially, his stock skyrocketed and Hrgovic's stock massively dropped. So Zhang can pretty much do whatever he wants now after this fight. Like, he can fight, he can probably get a fight with whoever he wants. He can take that fight to China. He can fight in the US. He can fight over here. He can fight back in the Middle East. maybe in November if he wants to, or something, when they do that UAE card, if he wants to get himself back on the winning bracket. But yeah, he done himself no disservice at all. So I want to say big ups to Zhang. And to be fair, as we was all joking on the watch along, you come out in a robe like that, you can't get beat, and he didn't deserve to get beat at all. He put it all on the line. It was Emperor Zhang on the night. So congrats. What did you think about it? You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah. So first things first, I got to say thank you to Ashley Treasure Theophane. All the clips from Jeddah come from him, who was ringside. He was supporting his boy, Bauderlique, good friend of mine, Ashley. Thank you very much for those videos. That fight, although it was at a very slow pace initially, it warmed into a really good battle. I mean, down the stretch, I was fully engaged. I was actually reading it as well, in terms of saying, at times I'm looking at Zhang and everyone's like, he's got him. And I said, watch the next round, he's going to switch off and Hrgovic is going to be all over him. And that would happen. I like both guys. I thought Zhang won the fight. I see in the chat that we have disagreeing views. Hot Pies thinks he thought Hrgovic winning. I think most people I've spoken to since the fight believe Zhang won. It was definitely close. But, you know, most importantly, as you said, I think Zhang's stock goes up hugely. I think lots of people, with the eyes that he's been able to get on him, are going to be looking at him and thinking, that's a guy that we need to be looking at for a world title crack, even though he was on the wrong end of a decision. And there's enough in there for people to say, you know what, he's a really heavy-handed guy. He throws fast hands. You know, I compare him to, say, Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz is a smaller, stockier fighter, but I think Zhang can throw hands as fast, but heavier, way heavier. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, I don't want to labor on it too much. I see a few people have mentioned that Chisora has already thrown his hat in the ring to say he wants to fight Zhang in China. That would be huge. I don't know what Chisora's pedigree is like in China, but yeah, you know, I'm sure they take to that, because I think, as I said, the eyes of the world have opened up to Zhang and Hrgovic, and they're both right now going to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, Zhang would be the A side, so it wouldn't matter what Chisora stock was like over there. So yeah, like it wouldn't matter what Chisora's stock was like, because Zhang would be the A side. But to be honest, that's not a fight Chisora needs. I'll tell you that now. He's never been good against a southpaw, and someone like Zhang punches like he punches, it won't end well for Chisora.
Yeah, I agree. I think Chisora, you know, look, it's something about Derek, you know, 12 losses on his record, guys. You know, for those guys that I keep talking about, this is the end of the road for AJ. Just imagine, Derek Chisora is still involved in pay-per-view fights. He's still involved in, you know, being mentioned with the big guys in the division. Yet he's been defeated 12 times. And he ain't no young spring chicken. Like, AJ's way younger than him. But yeah, big up to Robert Broney, £10 super chat. Love that. Showing some love. First time catching a live, but big up. Excellent boxing talk. Much
Very
appreciated,
Robert. Thank you.
Please you very
come
much.
back.
Exactly. It's a different game in the pros, but I think that's why Age is a bit dismissive of Joe at times. I think you're talking about Joe Joyce. Not really sure where that conversation went. Fight Fan Danny says Zhang will hurt Chisora bad. Yeah. Alcuya, Zhang has 60 million people watch his last fight in China. Wow.
Yeah. So you go back there, he's the A side. He's like, you make mad. It's just like Japan. You go to Japan against that one of their guys, you make mad money. So a lot of those Americans would be very well suited to go over there and collect some of that, rather than thinking that they're too good to travel.
Perfectly said, my friend. Perfectly said. Becca Hunnigan Williams, a very familiar boxing name there. Hunnigan, welcome. Never seen you in a chat before, but hope you're enjoying, and thank you for your comment. If you are related to the great Lloyd, then salute to you. But yeah, that's that fight done. I think we move swiftly on to the next fight from that evening, which we will talk about, which is the Callum Smith versus Matthew Bauderlique. Matthew?
Yeah, Matthew Bauderlique.
Matthew Bauderlique. So off you go, my friend.
Yeah, so this was a fight. It kind of played out in the form and fashion that I felt it would, whereby Bauderlique would be using movement to sort of try and get around Callum Smith, but Callum Smith would like slowly inch his way forward, whereas Matthew would be taking sort of rather more springy steps, potentially using a bit more of like his athleticism, but also using erratic energy, which would maybe work against him later on in the fight. But lo and behold, the thing that did change was the fact that they actually ended up in the middle of the ring, like scrapping from the first round, which is something that no one was particularly expecting to take place that soon. But ultimately, yeah, it was a great scrap while it lasted. Bauderlique pretty much got the better of Smith. He just didn't necessarily have the power to keep Smith off of him, and he sort of Smith kind of made him work with a lot of the shots. He took a lot of them fairly comfortably. And then yeah, when sort of Matthew ended up he got a bit tired from having to sort of keep Smith off with all the shots that he was throwing and landing, and ultimately we saw what happened. Backed up on the ropes, he's trying to fight the guy off, but he's tired. He leaves himself open. That short left hook comes over the top, lights out. Before you go, Becca just said that yeah, that Lloyd Hunnigan is actually her mum's brother. So big up to you, Becca.
Yeah. So my view on the fight, very similar to yours. It was a very calculated approach from Callum. He's very much, in my eyes, benefiting from the joint work he's doing with Buddy McGirt. It's funny, we haven't mentioned Buddy McGirt. Buddy nearly came on my show the other day because he's a good friend of Rachel Charles, who I know very well. But yeah, in fact, Buddy challenged me to I had a little go at him about his weight the other day, and he was like, "Come over and let's have a talk about it." He's like, "Yeah, come on, champ." But yeah, give credit to Buddy because I think he's doing good work with Callum. Since, of course, the Canelo fight, you know, Callum's had to go back to the drawing board, and I think it's been a match made in heaven. But in terms of Bauderlique, as you said, you know, you knew that he was going to come out, he was going to box on at length, and Callum just sized him up, you know, slowly. I think Bauderlique got taken into the trenches too quickly. You know, he needed to stay clear of that engagement and box, you know, from a distance against Callum for longer. But he got drawn in, and eventually Callum was able to wear him down. And the finishing left hooks to the body and head, you know, look, beautifully executed. Absolutely wonderful.
I just want to respond to a comment that's in here from Reese Jones. Says Callum Smith versus Craig Spider Richards would be a good keep busy fight as Beterbiev is fighting Yard next. I tell you, Craig is no keep busy fight for anybody. That's not a fight you take voluntarily if you don't have to. So yeah, that just wanted to make that note.
And also there is a call to say, somebody mentioned Josh Boatsy in there as well. Callum boxing pound for pound. Jack said Callum versus Josh Boatsy. Of course, Boatsy is lined up to fight Jean Pascal as a eliminator at the moment. You know, look, the light heavyweight division is fire. You know, there are some great fights. You know, you look at likes of Dan Aziz coming up. Excuse me. You know, Shakan Peters on the comeback. There's a lot of great British light heavyweights right now, and obviously, you know, Buatsi and Richards kind of showed that, you know what, don't be afraid to engage in those kind of cross-platform wars or fights. It would be great to see some of these guys putting it in while the big boys in Beterbiev and Bivol take on their mandatories. But yeah, great division right now. Lots of good fights to look out for. Robert says, Cannon will be a problem for domestic guys. The left hook counter is serious. That is true. Absolutely.
Definitely. And you want to talk about the Badu Jack fight quickly?
Yep. So Badu Jack against Rivera. It was entertaining. The two defenses were woeful, but it kind of played into the hands of a very entertaining fight. I mean, literally, Popeye Rivera came out and like was being dominated by Badu Jack, but mid rounds decided, you know what, I'm going for it, and he just started throwing leather, and Badu Jack just couldn't stop Rivera hitting him with uppercuts. I mean, there were some serious uppercuts in this fight, but you know, look, this was another close fight, and I have to say, hats off to Matchroom on this card, because this card was amazing. You know, this card, it didn't look it initially, but it managed to work itself out in the end with, you know, a sequence of fights that were very entertaining, not least of which was this one between Badu Jack and Rivera.
Well, you know,
Rivera,
we got to say big up to Skills Challenge, because they're the reason Badu Jack was on the card with Rivera and Andrew Chabiti and those guys. That's all them. That was nothing to do with Matchroom. So yeah,
and that's because they fight there regularly with Skills Challenge. But yeah, you know, I was thoroughly entertained, despite complaining about how bad the defenses were of the two fighters. I couldn't help but say, you know, for the casual, this is pure entertainment. Two guys battering the hell out of each other. What was your thoughts, Base?
yeah. I mean, with regards to the fight, I was saying, I think I was saying it in on the live. I think I was saying it in our boxing group, and that the way that Badu Jack sort of came out in those first few rounds, I was like, that's how AJ needs to kind of come out. Needs to almost stalk forward, jab his way onto that inside, just hold and just start hammering the ribs, hammering the kidneys, because that's what Badu Jack was doing. And I felt like he was having a lot of success with a lot of those tactics, to the point where obviously he was getting, like, his defense wasn't great, but also he was fighting at a weight that he's never fought at before. So maybe some of those punches were affecting him a little more than he had maybe maybe thought that he would. And he was, but I felt like what Badu Jack does in pretty much all of his fights, he's definitely a 12-round fighter. He's a guy that he almost always loses the majority of a first half of a fight, but then when you get tired is when he sort of comes back. And I felt like he was doing enough good work in the first half of the fight, the first 5 rounds, to maybe get one of them, 1 or 2, and then I feel like he got about 3 or 4 of the last the last rounds, like, quite clearly, just due to work rate and pressure, with Rivera sort of just becoming a bit tired. So while I think I did have it like 96, 94, I'm not disputing anyone who thinks that Rivera won that fight, and I can totally understand why he feels like he was hard done by, because he did throw a lot more, he did look busier, and he did look more flashy. But I did feel like Badu Jack was just a bit more precise and a bit more impactful with a lot that he was landing outside of those uppercuts to the chin. But it was, I thought there was a thoroughly entertaining fight, and I enjoyed it.
Great. So, without further delay, because we still are pushing to see a lot of the action, very quickly, Ramla Ali, very quick stoppage of Nova. Ramla is showing huge power right now. You know, the girl that she fought, just when she got cracked early, it looked like the fight was just out of her, gone. She, you know, she just couldn't keep up with her. And yeah, she did the business. Good performance. But yeah, she now needs to step up. What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, she's adjusting her power a lot more. Manny Robles is getting her to sit down on those shots and to straighten out the arm, which she wasn't doing before. So, I mean, yeah, Garcia Nova kind of let herself down and let everyone else down. Although, to be fair, after the gum shield got punched out, she did take a body shot, which I think maybe is the reason she stayed down. I think she kind of got a bit winded from that, which I didn't see initially until like I'd watched it back. But still being said, it wasn't, she ultimately didn't show the necessary strength that was needed to give Ramla a test. But it wasn't even about the fight; it was just about what it meant to the city and the event. So in that sense, it was good. She's got a couple injuries she needs to deal with, so she needs to, rest and recuperate from those, and then go to maybe sort of like a transitional type title in her next fight. Go to like a 10-rounder, then compete for a world title after that. But she did well, so well done to Ramla.
Yeah. A couple of comments are in the chat about Ramla doesn't beat Ellie Scottney. Ramla versus Sebastian Fundora's sister. Yeah, did they say Nova was a world title challenger? She was awful. So yeah, we'll move on because yes, we still have a few things to finish off for the evening. We do want to get back on point. The last couple of fights I want to talk about were Emmanuel Navarrete. This was taking place in the States. I can't remember exactly where now. But yeah, Emmanuel Navarrete came across Baez. Emmanuel Navarrete is showing himself to be a very interesting character in that he's now, oh man, I forgot his record. But he's basically
1 with 29 KOs.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, as a young kid coming up through the weight, he's looking phenomenal. He's got great power. He's reading fights really well. Baez came to fight. He looked like he was giving Navarrete a lot of trouble in the early rounds. But Navarrete seemed to grow into the fight as the fight got on, and mid rounds he came in. He started touching him up to the body, and then he finished it off with a beautiful body shot. That literally Baez was folded up. He was unable to continue. So definitely Emmanuel Navarrete is a name you want to look out for. He's he's young. He's definitely going to be someone that's going to be looking at a title challenge very soon. Your thoughts on that fight? Did you get a chance to watch it in the end?
Yeah, I watched it, but I mean, Emmanuel Navarrete is not that young, and he's a two-weight world champion. So what do you mean title shot?
My bad.
Oh, okay. You confused me with someone else.
I am.
Yeah, no, he's 35-1 with 29 KOs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, with regards to the performance, they said this is the longest period he's ever been out of the ring, which was 10 months. Now imagine some guys, 10 months is their standard practice, but he in 2017 and 2018 and I think 2019 as well, he's fought 4 times in all of those years. He's used to activity. The lack of activity clearly showed, and I think he's one of those people, the reason he stays as active as he does is because he can't necessarily live the life if he's not in a training camp, if he's not training. So he struggled with the weight, which obviously didn't help because they said that he was really dry on the scales as well. And he struggled, he had to sort of strip down and apparently just about made it. First half of the fight, he was on the back foot in the first round, which is not his typical style, but I feel like he was literally just trying to get his legs under him. He didn't really look right. He was taking a lot of shots that I've never really seen him take. and he's fought a lot of substandard opponents recently, but because he's so active, it's almost not that much of a problem because he's fighting 4 times a year. So you can have 3, substandards and 1 decent if you keep up that cycle and keep honing your craft. But he was very labored. He was getting hit with stuff that he's not been hit with before. He was throwing shots from well out of range that was not something he would normally do. It all looked like it was about to fall apart from him. But the fact he's got a solid chin protected him. In the 4th round, it was like the last of his worst parts. The 5th round, he started to sort of get back into a bit of rhythm. Was still getting caught with some silly stuff, but you could tell that the timing and the pace and the gas tank was starting to fuel up properly. And then by the 6th round, even though it only lasted about a minute or so, you could tell that he was kind of back into full form. So again, activity is needed from him because without activity, he looks like crap. But ultimately, he did what he needed to do as a champion, and that's he got the victory, and he got it with the KO, with the the liver shot, the solar plexus. That's the delayed pain. You feel it, and you're all right, and all of a sudden you're down on your knees, you're wincing, can't move, can't breathe. And yeah, so congrats to him, but he definitely needs to step it up after that because he can't take too many more of those.
So yeah, Ben, Reece Jones has asked, what about Ben Whittaker's performance? I actually didn't even see it.
I saw it. It was a lackluster performance. It was laboured, but he won 5 out of the 6 rounds quite convincingly. Got hit a couple times, but ultimately the guy didn't have any power, so he didn't really mind taking the shots. He was defensive. He was pretty defensive. Yeah, he switched off a couple times. I think he was a little bit injured going into the fight, and he didn't really. He was tired as well. He'd only, he'd fought a couple weeks earlier. He only went to Saudi Arabia that week. I think the weather, the humidity was just a bit much, but he got through it. So yeah, I think he's got to relax now, take a little bit of a break, and then come back. I think in November. So yeah. And with regards to Bruce, we touched on it, but the Tabiti fight it's not really worth going into. James Wilson was a last minute replacement, like on 4 or 5 days' notice. They both went out there a bit. Well, no, he went out there a bit late, bit heavy, bit static. It was nothing. Tabiti pretty much pieced him up. He'll do well as a sort of a bridgerweight, cruiserweight, like a fringe heavyweight against people that are smaller. But ultimately, like, he's going to go back to cruiser and or bridger. He's not really for the heavyweight division because he hasn't got the chin for a heavyweight.
Absolutely. So yeah, we've addressed those. The last fight there's 2 more fights that I want to talk about. Very briefly, Nico Ali Walsh on the undercard of the Navarrete Baez fight was successful in his latest fight. And then the other fight that I just briefly want to talk about was the Lipinets
and Figueroa,
yeah. Obviously, if Lipinets came in as a substitute opponent against Omar Figueroa and ended up winning the fight.
I mean, I knew he would win. To be honest, I didn't see the fight. I didn't follow on Fight TV. weren't bothered. But I knew that Lipinets would beat him because Lipinets is naturally better. Omar Figueroa hasn't won the fight since 2018, I think, was the last time. The reason he was so upset with Broner because that was a fight he legitimately could have won because Broner is just not. He's a shell of his former self. He doesn't throw any punches. Omar probably would have been able to outwork him. But Lipinets, his only real crazy defeat was to Boots Ennis at 147, a weight that he's not actually supposed to be in. And then obviously he got the gift draw decision against Castillo Clayton when Clayton clearly won that fight. So they went back down to 140 and you saw what happens. I haven't seen the fight, but I just knew he was going to win that. So yeah.
Cool. So that, my friend, concludes our review of action from this weekend. The weekend coming up is a quiet one, Carnival weekend for us in the UK. For those of you who don't know, that's a big festival in central London where everybody goes out, drinks, dances, and has a party in the street. But in terms of action this weekend, the only thing that I could find was...
Isn't there something on Friday? Isn't it Pitters? Isn't the Pitters fight on?
So Florian Marku is fighting Thursday in Tirana, Italy. Murat Gassiev is fighting in Serbia. And Jose Pedraza against Richard Comey from Tulsa on Saturday. I didn't see the Shikam Petters. That might be the weekend.
No, that might be. It might be next month. It might be on the 16th.
Yeah. So nothing on there jumps out at me. It looks
no,
like
sorry, it's not Pitters. Pitters is just sorry. That's on the 3rd of September. I was thinking of it's Denzel Bentley. Denzel Bentley's got a fight. I think it's the 16th of September.
Yeah. Interesting. This card actually in Tulsa on Saturday also features Jared Anderson and Efia Jagba.
And Jeremiah Milton as well. He's an upcoming prospect heavyweight. So that might be card might be worth watching.
Okay, so guys, that's your recommendation for you this weekend. If you're looking for some action, that will be the one to look out for on Saturday night. But other than that, it's going to be a quiet weekend for many of us, which kind of is handy because we'll be very busy with our bank holiday celebrations here in the UK. But listen, everybody, thank you very much for your contribution in the show tonight. I appreciate your giving up your evening to listen to us two guys chatting it up about boxing. There's been a lot of interaction in the chat, which is really pleasing to see. I see a lot of guys talking with one another. I think some links have been made. But yeah, that's me done.
Big up all the new people. Again, big up all the new people that have maybe just found us this one time or maybe have watched before but never actually left a comment. Like, you're all appreciated. You know what? For next week, because there's only going to be a small amount, we'll do what we done last week. We'll get a link out there. We'll let people come on. You lot can have a chat with us about some of the action or some other talking points, and we'll chop it out for about an hour and a bit.
Cool. So thank you guys very much. In the ticker tape just down below, there's the links for Base and his shows. Fabulous content on YouTube. Base does some great individual shows on his own where he talks about what's going on, and look out for his Femme Files, which are absolutely stunning. We are getting closer to that big event. I was going to say Michaela Meyer against
Baumgardner, no, that's one of the fights on there. But it's Marshall and Shields.
Of course, headlined by Clarissa
Shields versus Marshall.
Savannah Marshall. We will, of course, be getting big on that one. We will be getting big on Conor Benn versus Eubank. So, yeah, guys, look out because the next month is going to be exciting.
Are you going to Marshall Shields or Shields Marshall, by the way?
I definitely am, brother. I'm definitely. I haven't sorted my ticket yet, but I'm definitely looking to do that.
No, I'm there. So
Maestro, get yourself. You know what you need to do, Maestro.
The press accreditation.
But yeah, guys, thank you very much. All right, Fight Fan, West London. It's to those people who don't know London, they probably wouldn't even notice the difference. But yeah, stay blessed, everybody. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys again next week.
All right, bless up, guys. Speak to you soon.